Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel, The Scent Diaries. My name is Heather. We are going to be doing another fragrance review today of a Bath & Body Works body mist. And then we're going to be doing something a little different. Instead of continuing on with the scary stories, we're going to put that on pause for a minute, and we are going to be talking about my abuse, how I was abused growing up by my father and my stepmother. And I'm just going to let it all hang out. You know, it's going to be multiple parts because this is like years worth of abuse. But I'm not gonna, sugarcoat anything. I'm not going to hide anything to protect anybody. If they didn't want how they treated me to, be known, then they shouldn't have treated me that way. But I will also be, disclaiming everything with my own faults. I understand that there was times that I was a difficult child, that I wasn't perfect. There was things I was doing that I shouldn't have been doing. I'm not saying that at all. So I will be, putting my own faults in there. So I'm not just like bashing my parents without any context. But yeah, we'll get into it. But first we're going to review one of the flagship scents from Bath & Body Works that everybody knows, and that is Warm Vanilla Sugar. Pretty packaging. And the scent notes on this are intoxicating vanilla, white orchid, sparkling sugar, fresh jasmine, creamy sandalwood. And it says cozy, enveloping, irresistible. I've already sprayed it in the cap because I have to use my other hand to hold the camera. I am trying to get a tripod. I just have other things I have to worry about first, but I will be getting one of those soon so that I can keep the camera, stationary and use both hands. This is really, really good. I love this scent. It isn't super vanilla. That's what's funny. It's very, very sweet, very sugary. And it is vanilla, but it's not like a vanilla extract, bare vanilla, or vanilla bourbon, by Mix Bar. It's not like that kind of vanilla. It's definitely different. It's almost like a floral vanilla, or a, woody vanilla. And it's almost got like it's got like a warm, but at the same time, like kind of I'm probably the only person that says this, but kind of like a cooling effect. It's so strange. It's somehow both warm and cool at the same time. It's so hard to explain. I know that most of you have probably smelled this before, so you know. If you like any kind of sweet, so it's like, it is vanilla. Like, it's not like it's not vanilla. Like, it is warm vanilla and it is sugary, so that does make sense. But it's not super gourmand. It's not something like that smells really like food. It just smells like a sweet, like sandalwoody, I don't know. It's just really difficult to describe, but it is very, very good. It's a classic for a reason. They always have it. It's like part of their core line. I doubt they'll ever get rid of it. One thing I will say, I'm sorry, I got dirt all over my hands. I had to go get the dogs out of the yard, and they were completely muddy because of all this rain. One thing I will say is it doesn't last long, and that is such a bummer because it is such a beautiful scent. Like, I can spray it and I go nose blind to it. I mean, within like 20 minutes. Like, it's really, really, really light. That's the main thing I think a lot of people have an issue with regarding this scent, is that it just does not last. Now, I don't have the body lotion or like a body cream of it. Maybe if you layered it up, it would, last longer. But just the mist by itself is really not going to do it for you for the whole day. So this is really more something I use like at home on rainy days when I'm about to go to bed and I don't need it to really last anyways. I just want to have something good to smell while I'm falling asleep. That kind of thing. And if you know, like Sweet Tooth by Sabrina Carpenter, that smells very, very similar to this. It's like almost identical. So if you smelled that before, you smelled this. And Sugared Petals from Victoria's Secret also is very similar to this. There's a couple dupes out there that's very, very close. It's kind of like the Baccarat Rouge 540 situation, where there's so many scents that even if they're not like touted as being dupes or, like listed that way, they still are very similar because it's just like an overdone scent profile. But if you don't have anything that's like this, like if you don't have those other scents, it is a good one to have in your collection because it is different than my other vanillas. It's not the same. And it's really comforting. It's so, like, I love it. I really love it. If it lasted longer, I would be, like, literally backing this up. I probably have, like, 6 of them. So, yeah, that is Warm Vanilla Sugar by Bath & Body Works. And it is always available, so you don't have to worry about trying to get it from a reseller. Right now is SAS. It's probably not on, I don't think it's on sale for SAS. They don't normally put their core line on sale for those kinds of sales. They're just like their regular, buy 3, get 3, or buy 3, get 1, whatever. So if you want it, wait until it's like a price point sale. Like they'll do, all body care or all body mist for like $5.50 or whatever. And that's going to be your best bet, especially if you have a coupon, you can get it for really cheap. So yeah. Okay, let's continue on with, my personal dirty laundry. I don't know, it's probably cringe for me to talk about all the things that happened to me online. But I also never got closure. Like, my parents still to this day have never apologized to me. They've never even admitted they abused me. And in fact, it took me years. I mean, years, like literally in the last like 2 or 3 years, have I really come to terms that like I was abused, it wasn't like that was abuse. And they like gaslit me into thinking like, oh, it wasn't that bad. We did the best we could, you're just dramatic, because I was the scapegoat in the family. If you know anything about narcissistic family units, narcissistic family abuse, there is always a scapegoat. So the narcissist is the one that the family revolves around and that everybody has to serve, or you are going to be exiled, you are going to be punished, you are going to be, whatever. Sorry, I might have to stop a couple times. My nonverbal toddler, it's really hard to do these kinds of things when he is up and about. But it is what it is. We'll work it out. But anyways, so the narcissist is the one that the family revolves around. And that was my stepmother. Even my father was afraid of her. He will never admit that, but it was very obvious. And I'll go into context about why. But there's also, the golden child. Depending on how many kids there are, this is going to be different. But there's usually the golden child, which was her youngest son. She had 2 kids from 2 different baby daddies. So, I had 2 stepbrothers that were half brothers with each other. And then they both had siblings and stuff on the other side. It's such a mess. And then there was the 4 of us. It was my older sister, me, my younger sister, and my younger brother. So there's the golden child. And then there is the scapegoat. The scapegoat is the child that is used to absorb all of the abuse, all of the negative emotions, all of the bad energy that they can dump all the blame on, and all of their problems, all their anger on. And they consolidate it to one child because subconsciously they know if they were horrible to all of the children equally, then it would be obvious that they are a bad parent, and they would not be able to get out from under that. They would not be able to, trick people into thinking that they're good. If they target one child, they can say, well, all of my other children are fine with me. I don't have problems with my other children. So it must just be this child that's just a bad apple. They're just a bad kid, which is just not true. There is no such thing as a bad child. There's only like bad, parents and bad environments, and the way you raised them was bad. Every child comes out, good, in my opinion. The Lord makes every child equal, makes every child good, and it's the way you treat them and the reward and the punishment that they receive and learn to pick up on throughout their life that defines who they will become. So that's what they do it. They pick one child to, basically be a shield, so that they can unleash their negative emotions on someone without looking and without it being obvious what a horrible person they actually are. And, one thing that is consistent with all narc families, if you've, done the research, if the scapegoat is no longer available, if they leave or, pass away, whatever, they're out of the picture for whatever reason, the narcs, the, parents or whoever, will target another child if they have other children. It happens every time. If, you know, as soon as I left, they basically turned on my sister and my other stepbrother, which was one of her own kids. She actually has favorites even between her own children. And her kids know that. Like, her older son was like, it was very obvious that she liked my brother more than me. It was just crazy because I think she still has a crush on the younger one's dad or something, because why was she so much nicer to him? I think it has something to do with the fact that she's still hung up on his father or something, because she definitely treated them differently. But even between us for the stepchildren, she treated us differently. You know, she wasn't very nice to my brother. She wasn't really horrible to him because he flew under the radar. But he wasn't going to kiss her butt. You know, she didn't like him, and she was kind of obvious about it. She was very mean to him, but because he didn't react and, you know, give her that narcissistic supply, it never culminated into, you know, hold on. Sorry, I had to go in the other room. I swear he like knows when I'm doing something. Whenever I'm trying to make a video or whenever I'm trying to cook, he like suddenly is like, oh my gosh, I need all these things. And then he starts like vocally stimming where he makes these noises like over and over, and he will do it forever. So it's an autistic thing. I can delve into that later on in another video about, you know, the signs and symptoms of autism. But anyway, so yeah, where were we? So she wasn't nice to my brother, but she wasn't targeting him because he wasn't feeding into it. He wasn't reacting. He wasn't getting upset. He would just like kind of be like, okay, and then like go in his room and be alone, you know? And then my younger sister was somewhat that way too, where she kind of just let whatever my stepmother said, you know, Teresa, her name's Teresa. I don't even care. I'm not hiding nothing for this bitch. She would, you know, be mean to her too, but not quite as much because she flew under the radar. And then my older sister, her defense mechanism, in my opinion, was to suck up to her. She kind of kissed Teresa's ass. I mean, I understand. I'm not blaming my sister for that at all. Like, I get it. You know, when you're in fight or flight, like, she did what she had to survive, you know. But me, I was not going to do that. Like, I was just not, and that's usually the scapegoat. The scapegoat is normally the child that will not play ball, that will not live in the dysfunction, that will not pretend that everything's okay and go along with the lies. And that was me. So I would not kiss up to her. I would stand up for myself if she was being shady or bitchy. And I look just like my mother. My dad would say all the time, oh my gosh, you look just like your mom. When, you know, you make me miss, you know, her so much. Her name was Terry. She passed away, and that's how he ended up with the Wicked Witch of the West. So also what's weird about narcissists is they're not always unpleasant. They can be very nice and even charming. And that's what's so messed up about it and makes you so confused, is that some days they seem like they love you and they will treat you like they love you. And like, I mean, there was times where I was calling her mom, because she would be good to me in short periods of time. And I would think like, I would fall for it every time. I would think everything's good now. You know, it's going to be smooth sailing from here. We've hashed out all the past drama. Like, it's good. But the thing is you never ever know what version of them you're going to get. You know, she would blindside me, literally blindside me with her hatred. Like, I would think everything was fine, and then she would just say something super shady and, you know, backhanded and just like out of pocket completely for no reason. Like, everything was cool, and she would just like say something like that. You're just sitting there like, what the fuck? Like, why would you say that? Like, that makes no sense to me. And it's not even like there's an argument or like an irritation. If it was an irritation, it was even worse. But sometimes it would be literally out of the blue. So let's see, where can I start? Like, I was abused in every way possible. I was physically abused. They put their hands on me multiple times. And I will delve into each of those times as well. I was sexually abused. I believe my father did something to me when I was like 3 or 4. And I will tell a story about that too. And then my stepbrother, the oldest one, was sexually harassing me. He would constantly be trying to spy on me when I was changing. He would literally like be jerking off in the room, like with me in the living room, like just out and about, like covered up with a blanket, thinks that nobody can like freaking tell what he's doing. Yeah, it was bad. In fact, when we were in middle school, like, because when they got together, no, was it middle school? Yeah, it was middle school. When they got together, it was right before we went into 8th grade. And I had been homeschooled off and on up until then. But, when my mom passed away, I was still being homeschooled. And they just threw us straight into public school. Like my mom just passed away. You just got remarried. She's living in our house, sleeping in my dead mother's bed. And then you just throw us into public school. So my whole life changed. And then right after that, like literally the next year, we moved away from everybody I knew, away from all the family I had. So all these changes were happening back to back to back. My mother passed away. My dad immediately starts dating this other woman, gets married to her, moves her into our house that my mom passed away in, throws us into public school, to just not have to deal with us. And then the year later, we moved to a whole different county, different school system, everything. And then they expected us to freaking be normal and like couldn't understand why we were acting out. Like, it's so bizarre. But anyway, so yeah, we went to public school. And there was people there that had said that they had caught my stepbrother jerking off like in class. And I wasn't in the classroom. I wasn't there when it happened, and he denied it and everything. But I totally believe them, knowing what a freaking creep he is. And you know what? He has since apologized to me. I will say that. As an adult, he did tell me that he was sorry, that he did all that, he should not have done that. So I do really appreciate that. And I have forgiven him for it. And I'm not going to name drop him because of that. Because I do appreciate it when people can admit that they've done something they shouldn't have done. A lot of the times my parents swept it under the rug. It was just kind of a boys will be boys situation. But I was uncomfortable in my own home. You know what I mean? I was so scared to take a shower or change because I thought there was some way he was going to see me. That's how, it was every freaking time I was trying to shower. And they would get on to him, give him a talking to, and tell him he can't do that. And basically just they didn't care actually what was happening. They were trying to smooth, everything over enough to where I wouldn't tell people about it. That's what they were worried about, is that other people would hear about what he was doing and it would reflect badly on them. But I didn't want to tell anybody anyways because I was so ashamed. I was so embarrassed. Not that I had anything to be ashamed of. What do I have to be ashamed of? He's the one that's being inappropriate, Like, they just wanted me to hide my body. Like, I'm going to keep wearing tank tops. I'm going to keep wearing bathing suits. It's not my fault that you raised a creep. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm not going to walk around naked, but, I'm not going to that's not going to help. If you heard anything about the Middle East, those women are still brutalized, and they're wearing literally bed sheets covered up their whole bodies. So, it has nothing to do with that. Creeps are going to be creeps, and we're not going to be blaming women for how disgusting men act. No, that's not okay. So yeah, sexually abused, and then physically, and then most of it was psychological and emotional abuse. Just trying to make me feel like I was a bad person for no reason. I was constantly told that I was lazy. That was her biggest thing. She's a communal narcissist, which is someone who gets their validation from acts of service or from work. But it's not because they actually value the work. It's not because they actually want to help other people. It's because they feel elevated. They feel good about themselves by being the hardest worker or the most generous or the most volunteering or whatever. And that's what her little niche was. She wasn't very bright. She wasn't a looker. So she decided, I'm going to be a worker and I'm going to be the best worker. And anybody that doesn't, it's twofold. Anybody that doesn't meet her standards, she's going to look down at and call lazy. And anybody that tries to meet her standards, she's still going to one up them because she wants you to be a hard worker. But she doesn't want you to be a harder worker than her. You cannot be a harder worker than her. No one was a harder worker than her. She, walked uphill both ways to school in the snow barefoot for 3 miles. You know what I mean? She's that kind of person. No matter what you're going through, no matter what you do, no matter what is happening in your life, she did it first. She did it harder. She did it with no help. That's another thing, is she was stuck on this fantasy that she pulled herself up by her bootstraps. She loved that saying, well, you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. In her mind, she created her own life completely. She had no help. She had no love from anybody. which is truly baffling because, for one, she had two baby daddies that she was getting child support from both of them, and she was getting a good amount of money from both of them. She also had a full-time job, okay? And then on top of that, before she met my dad, she was living in a house owned by her father that she was paying, I think she said $200 a month for. $200 a month for this house that is owned by her dad. I mean, just one of the kids' child support could cover that. Not to mention you have the other kids' child support and a full-time job. You didn't pull yourself up by, there were no bootstraps. What were you talking about? You were provided the boots. Like, and then she doesn't give her dad credit for that at all. She still pretends like she is the one who made her own life. And she lived in that shack of a house until she met my dad. So that's she has literally been like using and jumping from man to man, and getting her livelihood from men, and then has the audacity to pretend like she did this all herself. She never had got any help, so she sees no reason why anybody else should need any help. Everybody else should be able to figure out their own shit. She's the most like unempathetic person I've ever met. Like, she's the kind of person who, like, say that like somebody dies in a car wreck and they happen to not have your seatbelt on. There's no like, oh my God, that's horrible. Like, that is just terrible. Like, immediately she's like, well, that's what you get for not having your seatbelt on. Like, almost glad that they're dead because they didn't follow one tiny little rule. Like, it's so, I mean, like, obviously you should have your seatbelt on. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have your seatbelt on, but you should have empathy for people regardless of whether they followed the exact, if you don't do exactly live life the way that she lived life. She thinks that there's everything that is in your life is your fault. You shouldn't receive any help or any sympathy for it. And it's just crazy because there's so much in life that we have no control over. There is stuff we do have control over. I'm not saying, we're complete victims, but for the most part, life is like a river that we're being swept away down. And just because you got swept down a good stream, you can't sit there and say, well, I brought myself down this stream. It's too bad you went over the waterfall. That's not my fault. You should have swam against the stream harder. Like, if she didn't have her baby daddies, if she didn't have my father, if she didn't have her father, she would have been homeless. And she just doesn't see that. And in her mind, like, that is reason to call other people lazy, to look down on them, to pretend like, she said all the time, I never thought anybody owed me a living. And it's like, you never thought anybody owed you a living, but you're sure shit got it from them, didn't you? Like, she just is so delusional. So that's where like the, mental and emotional abuse would come in. It's like calling me lazy because I wasn't getting up at like 6 o'clock to like clean the house and then come home and, work hard I was depressed. I went through literal, like, life-changing trauma that was never addressed, that was never talked through, that I never received any sort of help for. And then I was just blamed for wanting to stay in my room or hide in the woods to isolate myself. It's like, yeah, because you're miserable to be around. Obviously, I'm not going to want to be out here. But anyways, let's get into, like, some of the specifics. This isn't going to be in any, like, clear order. But we'll just start with like how she completely ruined my 16th birthday. So, I was turning 16. I told my parents I wanted to have like a girls' slumber party and I did not want any of the boys there. Really what I did not want my stepbrother there because I knew that he was a creep. He had been spying on me and sexually harassing me since our parents got together. And I did not want my friends to wake up to him like jerking off in the corner of the bedroom, and be, freaked out and traumatized and never want to hang out with me or think I'm a freak because of it. Because, people just in high school, they blame you for how your family is. And so, but I couldn't say that. I couldn't say I don't want him here because of that, or I don't want specifically him here. I just pretended it was because I wanted a girls thing and all the boys have to go. I was fine with my brother and my other stepbrother being there. But I couldn't isolate my older stepbrother and make it obviously because it was a sexual thing. Like, I did not want him to creep on us. And she lost her shit. She was so mad that I wanted to do something that her children would not be involved in. And I would have been fine with her taking her sons to go do something and my dad staying with me and my friends. Sorry, it got suspiciously quiet, so I had to go check on him. But yeah, I would have been totally fine if my dad had wanted to stay, even though I believe my dad did do something to me when I was younger. I don't think that it continued. He was sexually inappropriate. He would say very creepy and things you just do not say to your child, to your daughter. And I will specifically tell you about each of the things that he said to me that were just disgusting. But it wasn't like he was actively trying to catch me changing or jerking off in the room with me there. So I would have been fine with him staying and her taking her sons, but that just wasn't even brought up. That wasn't an option because I had said it was about having a girls' night. So she was the one who was going to stay for it. And, my friends come over, the boys are gone, and she's so mad about the fact that I didn't want her kids there, that she was just absolutely horrible the whole time my friends were there. I mean, she was so cold and so mean, and just like, here's your cake, here's your presents, and I guess y'all just have a good time. And then she would go in her room and slam the door, to the point that my friends were like, what is wrong with your stepmother? Like, what happened? What is up with her? And I was like, I don't know. I just wanted a girl's birthday party, and she's angry because she has sons that aren't here for it. Yeah, she was literally, it was, the vibes were so off. Like, as soon as my friends were gone, I pretty much just cried my eyes out, because it was like she was intentionally trying to make it's so unpleasant that my friends would not want to come back. Like she didn't do anything specifically. It was just her energy, her vibes, like just so cold, so mean, like literally like, and then slamming her door like as hard as she can. Hold on, Betty. Hold on. Let me finish what I'm doing. I'll be right back. Yeah, so it was bad. It was an awful birthday because of her, like, literally for no reason. I even said, like, hey, when it's one of the boys' birthday, like, if you want to do a boys thing, go out and let the boys have fun. Like, I'm happy to go hang out at my friend's house. Like, I will be gone. That is fine with me. Like, I don't understand why this is such a problem. You know what I mean? And if it had been one of her kids that had asked for that said they wanted to have, just like a boys trip sort of situation, she would have been like, oh, the girls gotta go. Y'all gotta go. Like, my baby wants his birthday a certain way. And you know what? We're going to honor that. Like, she would be all about it and be totally fine with it. Like, the fact that she, like, thinks in her mind that she treated us the same is insane. Even her older son was like, yeah, she did not treat us the same. She even treated my own brother better than me. But he said to me specifically, she treated you badly. Like, he is the only one that has admitted it. The other kids have not admitted it. My older sister somewhat is starting to admit that I was treated wrong. And that it was obvious that I was treated wrong, but that's how narcissistic family units work. The other children normally will not recognize the scapegoat as the scapegoat for fear that it will turn on them. They cannot allow their mind to go to that place, that this is a truly unfair environment based on who's who and who's doing what, because then it means that what they do is conditional, that their love is conditional, and they don't want to believe that. They want to believe that everything's fair, that she must just be really a problem child because she's always in trouble. She's always grounded. She's always, having some kind of knockdown drag out with the parents. And I'm not, so it must be her. But it's because they weren't the scapegoat. And then when I left and, the other children started becoming the scapegoat, they lost half the family there for a while. The older stepbrother and my younger sister were not talking to them at all. So that's 3 out of 6 kids. How can you say that it's not something you're doing when literally half of your children want nothing to do with you? And my younger sister still does not speak to them. I still do not speak to them. My older stepbrother, he's not older than me, but he's older of the two. He's my age, basically, just a little bit younger. But he does talk to them now because he needed their help. He had to move back in. It's like a whole thing, whatever. But it just like, at some point you've got to realize you're the problem. She doesn't talk to her own mother, her own sister. She's tried to like make up with them because they had problems growing up or whatever, and neither of them want anything to do with her. She said that her older sister molested her when they were younger. And maybe that is true. I'm not saying it's not. And that her mother would go to bars and leave her alone and all that. And I'm sure that's true too. Not saying any of that's not true. I'm saying your trauma is not a reason to treat somebody else's child, a child that you claim to love, that you married the father of, like crap because you had problems when you were a kid. Wouldn't you want them to be treated better than you were treated? Wouldn't you want them to have a better life than what you were given? That doesn't make any sense. But anyways, my son is really wanting me to go do some stuff, so I'm going to get off here. But I will be back with other stories very shortly, or as soon as I can, because I do need to get this off my chest. And I know they'll never see this. They'll never care. They're never going to apologize. They'll never even recognize they did anything wrong. And in their minds, they still did something right. But she treated me horribly. And because my dad, was part of the narcissistic unit that was serving her, he could not go against her. I mean, he was so afraid of her that like we would go into the garage and smoke weed and stuff when I was like an adult. I wasn't a kid at this point. I was like 18, because we stopped talking at like 25ish or something. It's a long story. I had sworn to never talk to them as soon as I became an adult. Then after I became an adult, we started getting along a little better because I was out of the house. And I thought maybe, now things will be better now, and tried to give him another chance. And it wasn't. It wasn't long term. It was very short lived. But anyway, so we would go out in the garage and we would smoke weed and listen to music. And I swear, like, I've never seen somebody jump up so fast. When he saw her coming down the driveway, he jumped like he had been stung by a bee or like bitten by a snake. Just threw the weed and the pipe or whatever, like in this little box to hide it, and aired out the entire garage and changed the music real fast to something country, because we had been like my younger stepbrother was listening to rap. I don't care about rap, but like my stepmother really doesn't like that. She only likes certain kinds of music. And then it's like pretending to straighten up, pretending to sweep and stuff, because he's so afraid of her seeing him enjoy himself and not like doing some kind of work when she comes home from work. Like it's crazy. So yeah, he was not in the mental state to protect me, because he was so far up her ass, kissing her ass for every little thing, which it was his responsibility to protect me from this witch. And he chose not to. He chose to let her treat me horribly. And I know that this is just one instance. If this was just this one thing, you would be like, wow, it seems like you're being a little too harsh. But after this series, after you see everything that this woman put me through and everything, I mean, my dad too, everything they did to me, you will understand like where I'm coming from. And so I will be back very soon with another installment of my childhood abuse. Yep. Thank you guys. Bye.